All right, guys, it is time for your wrestling nostalgia, and tonight we're taking a look at Edge and his top 3 moments in WWE. Let's get everything started right now.
It's time for your weekly fix of wrestling nostalgia, when we look at wrestling's past eras, from the Attitude Era to the Reality Era.
I'd like to think that maybe this company will be better after Vince McMahon's dead, but the fact is, it's going to get taken over by his idiotic daughter and his doofus son-in-law and the rest of his stupid family.
To today, here on the WWE Podcast.
All right, everybody, welcome to the WWE Podcast for this wrestling nostalgia version, and you know, I was racking my brain on what to do tonight. Really thinking about it. Because there's a lot to choose from. There's really a lot to discuss. I mean, a lot to look back on, really. And, you know, with the Royal Rumble season coming up and WrestleMania season practically here, there's a ton that it could draw from. And certainly, I have a lot of suggestions. But, in the spirit of the Royal Rumble season, and in spirit of Edge's imminent return, which should be, I hate to say any day, but in the coming weeks, you would think, after Randy Orton and The Fiend is concluded, presumably at the Royal Rumble, Edge should make his return, you would think, the next Monday night of the Royal Rumble, or following the Royal Rumble. So with that in mind, why not do an Edge top 3 wrestling nostalgia? And this is a fun one. It's not easy to pick out 3 moments from Edge's career, though. He had a hell of a body of work and will continue to add to that body of work over the next several months and maybe year or two, having sparing matches maybe every a couple a year. It seems as if that's what he was planning to do, and barring any kind of catastrophic injury, we hope to see that, and hope to see it in front of a live crowd to actually give him that duly needed and deserved reaction and embrace with the fans. And so, again, this is not a forever list, but up until 2021, you would think that Adam Copeland has about 95% of his body of work completed. And so, again, this was not easy, though. A lot of moments that I'm sure you guys will not either agree with, or maybe moments that you think to yourself, how did he not include that? But this is a very subjective list, as all top 3, top 5, top 10, top whatever lists are, no matter what. And this isn't just exclusive to pro wrestling. I mean, you could do your top 5 songs, you could do your top 5 movies, top 5 foods. Everything's extremely subjective. So, but I'm curious to know what your list is. It doesn't have to be top 3. But maybe just your all-time favorite moment of Edge. And I'm curious to know what that is. Let me know. You can email me at realwwepodcast@gmail.com. You can send me a DM on Instagram at WWE_podcast, or tweet me at wrestling_audio on Twitter. So lots of ways that you can get in touch if you want to, or just call us, which I'll be following this show, recording a mailbag session that should go, it's going to be pretty long. You guys pummeled me with email and voicemail this week. So if you haven't already listened to it, it is probably going to be over an hour. That's my guess. So back to Edge, though. You know, Edge, kind of looking at his career at a high level here, you know, you could argue is one of the best of all time. Certainly deserving of a Hall of Fame induction. No question about it. Now, does he reach legendary status? Well, if Alicia Fox does, I guess he does. Of course, I'm making light of Alicia Fox being a part of Legends Raw, which is still absolutely hilarious to me. But does Edge deserve to be known as a legend? Legend is a huge, it's a huge word to use in any sport, and wrestling is no exception. When you think of legends in baseball, for example, my second favorite sport, you think of massive names. Legend and all-star are different. You know, you can be in the Hall of Fame in baseball or any other sport and still not be known as a legend. A legend is the status of Babe Ruth or maybe Mickey Mantle or Nolan Ryan. I mean, names like that. You could even argue Derek Jeter. Now, can you tell I'm a Yankees fan? Okay, 3 out of the 4 are Yankees. But still, legend and all-star, and to be good and great and legendary are 3 different things. And wrestling, I'm kind of using that standard with Edge. And I know this isn't about Edge being a legend or not, and whether, I'm debating that. But as I thought about it, is Edge really a legend? I'm curious to know what you think, and maybe how you define legend is different, but the word legend carries pretty heavy weight, regardless of sport. So I think, personally, Edge is borderline legendary. I don't think he quite fits into legendary. Legendary would be guys like Stone Cold, right? Hulk Hogan, The Rock, guys like that, okay? And I don't think Edge quite fits in that category. But that doesn't mean that he didn't have the same impact that some of those guys did. And he certainly lasted longer than many of those guys did. And his body of work speaks for itself. Now, he started off in The Brood, if you remember The Brood with Gangrel. Maybe you don't. If you don't, Google it. Okay, The Brood was like a kind of pseudo-goth vampire group that carried a chalice full of blood and then splashed themselves with the blood, and it was kind of I didn't know what the group meant. It was weird. And then Edge joined the Ministry of Darkness, part of the Undertaker, and then broke off with Edge and Christian. And that obviously spoke for itself with all the TLC matches that they had. Best known for, obviously, their 5-second poses, some of their comedy that they did, even as a heel team. They were, I think, and really, when you look back at the annals of time, they were a true tag team, and one that may not get the recognition that I think they probably deserve in today's day and age. But tag team wrestling has never been and probably never will be Vince McMahon's focus, as long as he is running the place and steering the ship. So Edge, of course, went on to have a singles career that I think overshadowed what he did even with Christian in the tag team. I think that his singles career, from where he came from to what he achieved, was one of the biggest overachieving careers, maybe in the conversation, for one of the biggest overachievers of all time. You could say Daniel Bryan's maybe the biggest overachiever of all time, considering what he did. I understand that, but I think he's in the conversation. And to be what he did and face The Undertaker, I believe it was at WrestleMania 23, and moments that he's had and returns that he's had. I mean, he has given the WWE fans memories and ones that are stuck with us forever. And he had a character that made you believe. He always had the believability about him. He didn't feel like he was playing wrestler. He always had authenticity about him. He had that connection with fans. And it continues until this day. All right, so let's get into the moments. Let's get into my top 3 here. And obviously, we're going to start at number 3. This took place back at WrestleMania 17. A lot of people believe that WrestleMania 17 was the greatest WrestleMania of all time. And top to bottom, match quality, storylines, I can't argue with that. WrestleMania 17 is viewed by many within the industry, many internally in WWE. Talent believe that this was one of the best WrestleManias, if not the best WrestleMania of all time. Now, does that mean it's right or wrong? Of course not. But one of the matches on the card, of course, was the TLC match, which took place. And boy, I remember watching this, and it was between, obviously, Edge and Christian, the Dudley Boys and the Hardy Boys. So this was memorable for so many different spots. It was, I believe, the very first TLC match that took place at WrestleMania, if not the very first TLC match ever. And it was, again, I mean, when you think about TLC matches now, they're a dime a dozen. They're a dime a dozen, and TLC matches happen so often now. And there's a whole pay-per-view dedicated to it, for God's sakes. So, again, my narrative that I've been pushing at you guys, whether you eat it up or not, but is that the more of something that there is, the less it means. That goes for everything in wrestling. whether it's moves, whether it's the number of spots in a match, the amount of Hell in a Cell matches there are, whatever. The more titles there are, they mean less. I mean, across everything in life, the more there is of something, the less it means, the less value it has. And now in TLC in 2021, certainly TLC is a watered down concept that we've seen 100 times, if not more. But back in 2017, but back in at WrestleMania 17, which I think took place in 2001 in Houston, this was an innovative match. It was, again, there were no standards to hold it to. It was just, let's see what this can do. We've never seen this before. There's going to be, 6 hungry guys in the ring that are trying to prove themselves and make a name, and boy, did they do it in a huge way. And, there were, I should say, a lot of spots that I do remember from that match. Number one, the crowd was super into it, so everything going on was just eaten up by the crowd. But the two top spots that I remember was Jeff Hardy doing his Swanton Bomb, I believe on Bubba Ray Dudley, on the aisleway on like a 15-foot ladder, it seemed like. Swanton Bomb through the table onto Bubba Ray Dudley. I mean, it was just that I remember. And then there was a spot by Edge. And let's let the audio do the talking here.
Jeff moving the ladder underneath him. From Bubba Ray Dudley. Look at Edge. Oh my God! Edge for the 20-foot ladder with a spear on Jeff Hardy. For the love of God, Jeff Hardy may be broken. Smack dab in half. How much more? How much more can any of these 3 teams handle? How much can they take? What price are they not willing to pay to be the tag team champion? Look at this. 20 feet above the ring. Oh, God. Nowhere to break Jeff's fall. Watch how Jeff Hardy lands.
That was one of the best executed spots I've ever seen, and no margin for error, by the way. If one of them over rotates just a little bit, catastrophic injuries, if not worse. So clearly they just threw caution to the wind during this match. And I actually remember a story from Jim Ross talking about this afterwards, where all of the guys, everybody involved in that match, all 6 guys, all 3 teams, wanted a bigger pay raise, a bigger chunk of the change from WrestleMania because of the performance that they put on. I remember Jim Ross telling the story that they came to Jim's office and tried to make the case that they deserved a little bit more coin from the effort that they put in and the execution and how it came off and how it was, everything. And I guess they obliged. I didn't get, obviously, dollar figures, but JR, in one of his podcasts over the years, did allude to that story, and deservedly so. Again, I don't know the WrestleMania payoff to each of these guys, but it was one of the matches that stole the show. Now, of course, when you look at WrestleMania 17, as great as this match was, you look back to WrestleMania 17, and what do you typically think about? The main event, which was Stone Cold Steve Austin versus The Rock for the WWF Championship. And that was, I think, the best out of their 3 encounters at WrestleMania. Probably one of the best WrestleMania matches of all time in The Rock and Stone Cold. But this was a close second. You could argue this one stole the show, but Austin Rock, I'm sorry. They set the bar super high, and then Austin Rock just obliterated the bar. And so, but on any normal show, on 99% of pay-per-views that this could have been on, it would have been the top match of that show. And it was an amazing match. And yes, this wasn't specifically about Edge, and that is just a clip, a one bit of a moment from that match, just one snippet of his career. But that spear that Edge gave Jeff Hardy off of that ladder was so iconic and so perfectly executed as a spear into a perfect back bump that was as safe as I guess it could have been. It defined all men's careers, but specifically Edge and Jeff Hardy in that match. So this to me was the number 3 moment, because I remember thinking to myself in real time, oh my God, like this is insane, right? Like, I mean, yeah, we saw Mick Foley get thrown off of Hell in a Cell and all that stuff, and that was insane in and of itself. But we hadn't seen a TLC match at WrestleMania before, if ever. Again, I think it was the first TLC match. I could be wrong on that, but one of the first, if not. I know somebody out there will correct me. And it was so innovative, and to see this come off the way it did was awesome. I was happy for all 6 men involved. And that spot from Edge, it's been used on highlight reels, on signatures to start the show. It's, I think, even used in at one point in Edge's entrance video. It is an iconic, again, probably the most iconic moment from that match. Just a brilliant, brilliant spot. So, all right, let's get to number 2 in the moments for Edge in his career.
Who's it gonna be?
You think you know me?
No way. Oh my! You gotta be kidding me. The Rated R Superstar! Edge is here! It's been 9 long years. Edge, who retired in 2011 after triple fusion neck surgery. Edge with a spear. How long did you say, Cole? 9 years. Edge looked great. McIntyre bounced off the knee of Edge, and Edge now in position again with a spear to McIntyre.
Oh, man, I get goosebumps just watching that. I still do. That may be one of the best moments I've ever seen in wrestling, ever. And it is, and the reason is, it's when you have a connection with a personality on TV. And it goes beyond the ring. It goes beyond what you see in their persona and what you know is just a wrestling character. When it goes into their actual human being of who they are, and you get to know who they are, especially through, after he retired after 9 years of being away, you get to kind of learn who he is. He's on various podcasts. He does exclusive network stuff. You just get to know who he is. And on top of that, his wrestling character is super authentic because that is who he is. And so when you have that happen, and his career gets cut short because of an injury. He retired, I believe, at WrestleMania in 2011, facing Alberto Del Rio for the World Heavyweight Championship, and he retained. So when you have that, when you have all these ingredients together, and of course adding in the X factor of a surprise return, which is very, very hard to do in 2020 and 2021, currently the year we're in now, obviously. Very difficult to do in this day and age of wrestling. A surprise return is very hard. Very, very difficult to do because of the internet and leaks and just everything. It's very difficult. So you add that on top of it. It's a recipe for a forever moment in wrestling, in WWE, and in the wrestling industry. It is an amazing combination that it's like a perfect storm to give you those chills as a wrestling fan, that no matter how long you've been watching, right? Whether it's 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years, doesn't matter. It still makes you just, it's that moment that you go, this is why I am a wrestling fan. And in that moment, you are proud to be a wrestling fan. You would love to have family and friends watch that moment. Those that may be embarrassed at times for the content WWE pushes out, for these moments that they have, sometimes you can tolerate all the crap that they put out that is embarrassingly just eye-rolling nonsense that you guys have heard me rant about many, many times over the years. But when you have moments like this with Edge that are authentic, that generate real emotion out of you, not just the kind of the superficial, oh, I hope it had a good match. Oh, that was a great match. No. Like genuinely in your gut emotion for somebody returning, for the look on Edge's face. If you don't know how to read real emotion through a wrestling character, or maybe you're not sure where the line is blurred, or where real emotion starts and his character's emotion ends, right? Look no further than watching Edge in his return at the Royal Rumble last year. When he returned and his music hit, the crowd exploded. And then he walks through his smoke, and the look in his eyes says everything you need to know about what he's been feeling over his planned return in preparation for getting back and all the effort he put in. I'm sure that none of us will ever understand how hard it was to get back. Ring shape, wrestling shape is insanely difficult to achieve, and he was in better shape there than he ever was in his entire career, I think. For how, his body fat was down, he looked healthy, but the look in his eyes is what told you the story. The look in his eyes, if you can read a wrestler's eyes and you see the real emotion there, that wasn't planned emotion. That was like a release, or a moment of thinking to himself, man, this is all worth it. This is what I've been working to that moment to get to, is right now. And I can't believe I'm here. This is real. Listen to the crowd. I mean, I would imagine all these things going through his mind just looking at his eyes in those few seconds. And if you've seen this clip, which it's been viewed now over 23 million times on YouTube, which is where I pulled this from. I didn't pull it from the network because sometimes the network is a pain in the neck to try to find specific moments for. YouTube is much quicker. So that's where I pulled it. And it's got 23 million views right now. One of the highest viewed clips in YouTube, for WWE's channel on YouTube. And you see that, and you can read it in his eyes. It just tells everything you need to know. And I remember sitting there. I was actually in my bed last year watching the Rumble. My wife's sleeping. And I had my headphones on, obviously, so she couldn't hear anything. And I remember trying to, not make noise and yell. Because, I would have woke my whole family up, right? So I'm trying to contain my emotion, but it gave me goosebumps. It gave me goosebumps. If this didn't give you goosebumps, do you have a pulse? Is the first thing I'd ask. Or maybe you're a brand new wrestling fan. That's the other thing, and you don't really understand what Edge is all about, which is also possible and excusable. You didn't commit a felony offense against wrestling if you're a new fan. You don't have a clue what's going on. But I think most fans probably did, and they understood and read Edge the second he came out, and just the intensity, the release of stress, everything. I don't know. It was one of the best moments I've ever seen, and a surprise return on top of it for one of the biggest stars in wrestling after 9 years. There were no rumors of it that I heard of. It was just awesome. It was so awesome. I really, really, really I can't say enough about it. And no matter how many times I watch it, it doesn't stop giving me chills. And you guys will say, metaphorically. No, literally. On my arm is goosebumps every time I watch it. I get emotional thinking about it. People who don't watch wrestling or are maybe not as big of fans as you and I are don't get that. How can you be so emotional about that? You don't know him personally. Of course I don't. But I'm a human being. I know when I see emotion on someone else's face of realizing what that took to get them to where they are, and the story that they have, and the struggle they went through to get to that point. And you are also a big fan of that individual. It's a connection you can't understand unless you're a big wrestling, you're a wrestling fan, and you have connected with characters like that. So nonetheless, again, one of my favorite moments of all time was last year's Royal Rumble. Number 21 was Edge, and it continues to just anytime I'm having a bad day, you just like watch that and you're like, oh man, this is why I love this stuff, right? Whew. Okay. Now, I should put a damn like drum roll, little like sound in here or something for number one. I gotta up my production value, but, number one, let this again speak for itself.
This individual is cashing in his money in the bank privilege that he earned at WrestleMania. The WWE Championship match will take place right here, right now.
Oh my!
John Cena defends against Edge.
He's so human.
Well, I thought, and I said it earlier tonight, are you kidding me? That Edge would use it at WrestleMania. But Edge is cashing in, and cashing it in big time when John Cena is at his weakest. Oh, no, baby.
No.
Turn around, Johnny boy. Turn around. It's over.
Edge is just waiting on the WWE Champion. He's waiting on him.
Kick out.
He hit the spear. He hit the spear. Edge hit the spear. Cover. Two. No.
Did he get him?
No, he didn't.
How in the world did John Cena kick out of that? Was it a 3 or a 2?
It was a 2. It was a 2, and Edge is in total disbelief.
I don't think Edge is the only one in disbelief.
After all that Cena's gone through. Look at Edge now. He can't believe it. The disbelief now turning to frustration and anger. You can see the face of Edge changing. Oh, no, not another spear. But I guess Edge figures that's what it's going to take. Edge will spear John Cena over and over again if he has to.
Oh, and again.
Cover. He got him. My God, what has happened here tonight?
Are you?
WWE Champions!
I can't believe it. I can't believe it. This was indeed a historical night.
Edge has shocked the world.
Well, I'll tell you what he's done. He's stolen the damn title.
So this is another moment that gives me goosebumps, and for a different reason. And really, probably a reason that almost everyone listening to this can't relate to. And the reason I'm saying that is because it took place right in front of me. I was at this event. And New Year's Revolution 2006 is where this took place, when Edge first captured the championship, the WWE Championship, the silly spinner belt that I hope just burns in hell. I mean, I hope it's in like the 6th level of hell, just being tortured. It's if you can't tell how I feel about the spinner belt, I think that hopefully gave you a clue. But it was Edge's first WWE Championship, and if you listen to the crowd there, in my lovely hometown, we certainly were not John Cena fans. We were not of the belief that John Cena was our champion. He was the Roman Reigns of his time. He was a very, very big difference from what we had been used to with The Rock and Stone Cold and all the big guys that led the Attitude Era, the Ruthless Aggression Era. And there's really only a couple of years left until the PG era. So we were in the latter stages of the Ruthless Aggression Era here. But we just did not we rejected John Cena as the next guy because he was just very corporately packaged, albeit very good on the mic. There's a difference between Roman Reigns, certainly, and John Cena. And John Cena was good in the ring. I wouldn't say he's outstanding, but he certainly knew how to put on a show. And we just outright flat rejected him. And it was a very heel-friendly crowd. Pay-per-view crowd. Again, blood was still the order of the day, especially on pay-per-views. And I know I mentioned this during my Raw review about Randy Orton getting busted open and WWE hiding it like, he has a swastika on his cheek. I mean, they literally just didn't want anything to do with any blood. It's just obnoxious when they do that. Just let it freaking go. It adds emotion. I know they can't because sponsors and the network, and I get it, but I don't know. Nonetheless, it was to me, it's put him on the map. This win put Edge on the damn map. It solidified him as a star. It wasn't just this one-off. He wasn't just a part of a tag team. He had found himself at this point. And it was weird that Vince McMahon had to announce it, because I believe this was the very first, if not the first, Money in the Bank winner was Edge, who won it at WrestleMania 21. And now we're into early 2006 here. WrestleMania 21 took place in 2005. And Edge cashed in, and we had to have Vince announce it. And he hands the briefcase to Vince on the stage, as you heard Vince announcing it, which is weird now, right? Like, how does that happen? But that's how he did it back then, and he cashed in. And it's still like, for whatever reason, there always has to be like a conversation between the referee and the ring announcer for like 10 minutes about what's going on. I mean, shouldn't everyone in the company know about the Money in the Bank briefcase? The second you hand that briefcase to the referee, the bell should ring. I mean, immediately. Why does the ring announcer or whoever need to be told a life story about what's going on? There's always that delay, and I think that delay is usually just a way to get to a failed cash-in. I think that's what it is. It's like the out for a failed cash-in. Or somebody that, again, tries to cash in and can't, or somebody comes in and lays them out so they can't cash it in, so the match never officially started, all that nonsense. I don't know why we have any delay whatsoever. To me, the second you hand that briefcase to the referee, boom, the bell should ring. I don't need any delay. There's always that delay, and every time you see that, the referee holding the briefcase, talking to the ring announcer, you're like, okay, well, look out, because someone's about to interfere or something's about to happen so we don't get a real cash in. I mean, that's what I look for now, and I shouldn't. But in this case, we obviously did get a successful cash-in, the very first one on John Cena at the time, who was the arch enemy of everything that, again, our generation of fans and really, I think our age group, mostly by age group, and the older generation too, was there and vehemently really just crapped all over John Cena in that match. And I remember I actually had really good seats for this pay-per-view. It was one of the ringside seats. I was behind Jim Ross, who was Joey Styles at the time. I was right behind the announcers and right next to Lillian Garcia. And I remember my friends and I booing John Cena like to our souls. And Lillian Garcia looks back at us and says, "Well, tell me how you really feel." I'm like, okay, well, that's what we're doing. Not really getting sarcasm, but. I think she was kind of off-put by how hard we were booing their top babyface champion. And, I loved it. I mean, did you hear the pop? If you have, and it's kind of hard through mic to really get a feel for a crowd reaction because it's a little bit, kind of muted. You don't get the full feel of it. But go back and watch. Just search Edge Catches in Money in the Bank in 2006. I mean, very, very quickly, easily found on YouTube. And listen to the crowd reaction. And I'm glad that we were able to give Edge a moment that wasn't just full of booze. And I know that he's the heel champion, and I know that he's the ultimate opportunist, and it was viewed as a stolen championship by Jerry Lawler. Because he's the heel, he has to frame it that way. But I'm glad we were able to give Edge that moment of being cheered in a place that he should have been booed, but really just fans getting behind him, because not only do we not like John Cena, but the rated R superstar. He was kind of like that. He was more edgy. He was more of a relatable character than John Cena, I think. One of the many reasons why I think many people sided with Edge over John Cena. But Edge and John Cena obviously went on to have many, many, many programs throughout the years, and all of them very good. I mean, Edge and John Cena always worked very well together. I loved their matches. It did start to get a little bit repetitive over the years, but I loved what they were able to do together. And again, this is my top three, guys. This was my very subjective top three moments for Edge. I'm a little biased, of course, because I was there for the 2006 New Year's Revolution, which actually the Elimination Chamber took place in. If you forgot that was an Elimination Chamber match before the Elimination Chamber was its own pay-per-view. Amazing how they take stipulations and they just make them their own pay-per-view. TLC, Money in the Bank, right? among others. Hell in a Cell. They just like, bam. They take a gimmick and make it its own pay-per-view. I don't think that's the best marketing, personally. I think the matches and stories and character development and personal rivalries should speak for themselves. And I think that taking gimmicks and making them a pay-per-view is a crutch for bad booking. And not being able to, and having the, not being able to get people compelled into a story, and really show that they don't have the ability to create depth in characters that people can connect with. I think that is why, one of the many reasons why, that we see gimmick pay-per-views. So Money in the Bank, for God's sakes, is its own pay-per-view now. Geez, I just named, so we got, might as well list them. We've got TLC, Money in the Bank, Hell in a Cell, Elimination Chamber. I feel like I'm missing something. There's 4 right off the bat that are gimmick pay-per-views that used to be stipulations in match, just like gimmick, I shouldn't say gimmick matches, but stipulations in matches that are now its own pay-per-view. And boy, what does that do? It waters down the actual matches that happen, just because it's time to do it. It's the calendar. Oh, well, it's TLC. We're going to have a TLC match. Instead of having the storyline dictate it, the calendar dictates the match, which I don't, I think that's backwards. And I think it takes away from the credibility and the really the interest in having that match and the value of having that match, because it's just time to do it. Well, why? The story should dictate it, not the calendar. But I digress. So I hope you guys enjoyed this Wrestling Nostalgia. I'm about to now go record and respond to all of your voicemails and emails you guys have sent me over the last week. So that'll be a lot of fun. I love the mailbag show. And then tomorrow will be NXT review. And then, of course, we have the SmackDown review and Mimi's highs and lows of the week. And then I'm back on Sunday with a co-host doing your weekend review. So by that time, we'll be 2 weeks away from the Rumble. Right now, we're about 2.5 weeks. Much more manageable, I think, than where we were. So we're closing in, guys. We're closing in on Rumble. I hope everyone's staying safe. And I will talk to you next time.